Gentlemen,
Hello, hello.
Today's going to be really interesting because, like normal, I didn't prepare for the guest.
I did. I prepared.
Yeah, that's fine. But because I have no idea who the guest is.
You don't know. This is a gimmick show. Got a couple gimmicks. We are going to do surprise guest, which is a complete ripoff of our already complete ripoff of Smartless. We are going to do a call-in.
What?
We have a call-in.
See, Peter.
That's a surprise for Peter. That's how we talked about this. Yeah, we have a call-in.
So everyone's clear. I am the only one who doesn't know who the guest is today. The guest knows.
Peter,
Doug knows. Peter knows.
I think I threw you.
I know the name. Yeah, I've never met the person. I don't think, but I know the name.
Never met him. He's.
But I haven't even been told who the guest is. It's not
He's
whether
a
I
hard to
know
reach.
him or not.
He's a hard to reach figure. It's not a surprise that you don't know him, Peter. I only ran into him a few months ago
at Epstein's Island. I knew it.
Yeah, on Epstein's Island. Yeah. You were just talking about
technically it's the island next door. Yeah, the bigger island of St. Thomas.
We couldn't swim over. The surprise guest, though. Sorry, not the surprise guest. The call-in. I'm wearing a pirate shirt in his honor, and we'll get into.
I thought it was just a normal shirt for you.
You thought I was just getting a bit
letting the meat out.
Yeah.
I swear I've seen you wear that just at insurance events before.
I should wear it. I'm
so bohemian.
Guess what? I got an invite to, guys.
What's that?
Mr. JT from the insurer. Sorry, I almost said Insurance Insider. The insurer reached out and said, "Do you want to come to this little award ceremony thing we got going on tonight and tomorrow?"
Was that because I nominated you, or
I'm not nominated, to be clear?
Oh, okay.
I thought you were collecting an award for the show.
No,
I think they ran out of people to go, and they were scratching the bottom of the barrel. Said, who can we get that will say yes to anything?
Let's get the pirate guy to get
the pirate guy. He'll come on.
Yeah,
so I'm going to wear this tonight to this formal awards dinner.
Nice.
Because I only get changed once per day, Dylan. You know that.
I get it.
Whatever I put on in the morning is what you get for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that checks out.
Solid.
Yeah.
Just wish you'd shower.
Peter, last night Dylan was sending me text messages at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, this anything new here? Or it's every night, right?
He was doing some vibe coding.
It was some vibe coding. Yeah.
What were you? Can you talk about what you were vibe coding?
It'll definitely be announced on the show if it's worth a damn.
If it's successful.
No, not if it's successful. It's a little passion project, just playing with something, just trying to learn more about Claude Code. And I was like, all right, here's something I was interested in. Let me just play with Claude Code in order to learn more about how to use it. So
you didn't want to run it by Peter and myself just to make sure it was okay to do?
I mean, I don't think
we do everything together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no.
I think just because we have software companies, don't be under any impression that we actually know anything about technology. I think would be the.
That's exactly what I was implying by not asking.
I'm about to fire my CTO, so I don't think we need him anymore.
Yeah.
He doesn't listen to this show. He's actually doing things. So.
Actually coding.
Yeah.
Dylan, guess who's in backstage now? Our surprise guest.
I don't know who it is. Here's the thing. I don't even know if he knows me.
I don't think he knows you.
And you've been saying he. I feel like you're throwing me off of that. I asked. I'm not joking. I can show you the text. I sent my wife a text message and said, "You're not actually on the show today, are you?" Because I wouldn't put it past Doug to contact you.
And she's in the insurance space.
She's
a former actuary, right, Dylan?
Yep, she was at Kinsale before.
This is great because this guy that's coming on has had some negative things to say about actuaries. Or he doesn't get the science, the art and the science, the dark arts behind it. I was in my rabbit hole I went down last night looking into his past posts on both LinkedIn and Twitter. We'll see which ones he's comfortable talking about. He had a little montage of the misunderstanding of an actuary and what they actually do, what a loss triangle is. And I agreed. I didn't know. So maybe we should have Amy come on the show and talk to us about what
maybe you can explain for the audience now, Doug, people starting out, what a loss triangle is.
Nope. I'm okay.
But I'm sure our guest, who I don't know who this person is, might know.
Well, okay.
We'll put some diagrams in the notes.
Let's get to him because this is a busy guy. We only got an hour of his time today, so we don't want to waste it. This guy,
Jeff Bridges.
Not Jeff Bridges.
Damn it.
This guy has been in the insurance space as an attorney for a very long time.
Steve Marcelino.
Dylan, let's start giving.
I keep guessing. I don't know.
He's written a book on captives. He wrote the book on captives. He knows everything about captives.
Oh.
He can spin up a captive in his sleep.
I know who we're talking about now.
Over the last couple of years,
does he have a royal name?
It might be.
Oh, I got it.
Over the last couple of years, he's decided to come over to the MGA side of things and is the COO, I believe. I should have looked into that after I did all of the Twitter research. COO of an up-and-coming current Accelerant member, but also branching out into many different areas. I believe they're a global company. We're going to get more into that. He's a current resident of the great state of Georgia and Atlanta. He loves to talk about SEC football, again, according to his Twitter threads. Guys, let's bring on Mr. Matthew Queen.
Hey, guys.
What's up, man? Dylan, was I right? Did you?
You're right.
You love this guy, right?
Yeah, I do. And I think that's hilarious because we've never really gotten to properly hang out and talk. So this is perfect. Well
and
done.
Matthew's like, who the hell's Dylan? I don't even know.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's true.
So is Matthew someone you just follow online, Dylan, and you follow online?
I stalk him a little
but
bit.
Not only follow, I feel Dylan, there was a good period of time, and Matthew, I think when I met you a couple months ago, this is what I was telling you. Dylan would send me posts of yours from Twitter and LinkedIn, and they're all hilarious and very edgy, which we love. Now you've like gone into this new thing, so I don't know how much of those you want to share, but everybody can go to Twitter and still find all the good ones that are out there. But yeah, so Matthew, Dylan would share these posts, which he found very entertaining, and as did I. Dylan, I don't know if you remember any of the favorite hits, but yeah,
I don't remember the specific ones. But and then I feel like, and I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, but are you friends also with Matt Margolis as well?
We started as friends. Now he's our corporate counsel. So yeah, we moved into a professional relationship. He's quietly a very accomplished attorney. The memes. What's funny about Matt is we met through the co-author of the book, Modern Captive Insurance, a guy named Light Townsend. I was friends with Matt in law school. And Matt and I, at that time, I want to say I was still with either Hiscox or the captive manager I was working for those years ago. So Matt and I met years ago. And he, at that time, was with some law firm. And this was back when it was still called Twitter. It was pre-pandemic. And Matt is probably 2 steps shy of being like an actual stand-up comedian. He's
hilarious.
Has wisely chosen to be an attorney because it's extremely difficult to raise a family and make significant money as a stand-up comedian. But he's got real comic timing. And he started consistently hitting bangers on Twitter, 2018, 2017, years ago.
We're talking millions of views. It's amazing.
Wow.
So what happened with him, and I think it's kind of an inspirational story. He and I were chatting one day, and he was getting a little bit of flack from somebody at his law firm who just didn't have the vision. And I remember counseling him there, sitting there saying, look, this is a talent. If you can consistently, 1 out of every 50, 1 out of every 100 tweets, if that's getting 1,000 likes or 5,000 likes, I don't really care what anyone else says. You need to lean into that. And although it's obvious now that was a winning strategy for him, at the time, it was very controversial. Lawyers still were in this mindset of, social media needs to be, very curated, very stoic. And, he was working for someone else, so they were concerned about the branding. But he just kind of sort of leaned into it, wouldn't take no for an answer, and cultivated over the course of years a massive following. Now he's smart. He's on LinkedIn, he's on Twitter, and presumably everything else. I think he's also on TikTok. He's really a multimedia specialist. But don't let any of that marketing fool you. He's a marketing genius because he's actually funny, which is extremely rare. But over the years, we would chat, and he had legit opinions on things. And then when our company reached a point where I really needed some help because I don't pretend to know, everything about transactional law. And I mean, I'm a man of limitations. We brought him on as our outside general counsel. I mean, he's just been great, like really good to work with.
Yeah, Matt. So I think I met Matt Margolis first, and then I can't remember what it was. I think there was something he wanted to ask me about that was claims related, and then linked me with Matthew Queen. And then I have, and I just checked really quickly, LinkedIn messages and text messages with Matthew Queen here. And while we're both at conferences,
all were ignored.
And we're about to come back and forth, and we're missing each other at conferences, and it was just always busy and always crazy. So I'm so glad you got him on the show. That's actually perfect. Well done, Doug.
Thanks.
I thought you'd like this. So Matthew, we will get into what you're doing now. First, I have to apologize. I feel like my fucking neighbors every time we have a podcast, they mow their lawns.
Because this is one of those kinds of podcasts.
Oh yeah, you can say
Doug does a lot.
You can do whatever you want on here, Matthew. Anything you want to do to end your career, just this is
go feel it. Go for it.
You will not end my career. I've tried many times to end my own career unsuccessfully. I keep overcoming my own stupidity. So here I am.
Succeeding in spite of yourself. I love that.
Yeah,
let's pissed me off, and now I lost my train of thought. Dylan, keep going. You're doing a good job.
Matthew, I'd love to kind of talk about your journey. So, it looks like you went the defense counsel route first. And I mean, I had previously retained Galloway Johnson before. That looks like you had a stop there. And so can you talk through how you went from not running an MGA to running an MGA, because that story is something that we talk about on this show regularly. How people fall into building one, and that path has been so different from person to person. So love to hear what you've done.
Well, I think the running an MGA idea was downstream from me waking up one day and realizing that captive insurance and developing programs are so similar that you're really just at some point exchanging definitions and words. But functionally, it all boils down to, we have an insurance company or an insurance program that is unique for whatever reason, and we want to get it out to a certain target. I can't boil it down any simpler than that. But the captive, the typical approach would be, we have an insurance problem. I have seen a lot of medical malpractice, skilled nursing, wheels captives, commercial trucking, that sort of thing, because those are typically beleaguered areas of industry. The admitted markets are tough to find. A lot of E&S carriers are tough to find. So a lot of these insureds will take matters into their own hands, starting varying types of self-insured programs. So the process of doing that typically entails a review of the losses germane to that insured or the group of insureds who want to start this thing up. We got to figure out what the expected loss cost is likely to be. Typically, that does involve a third-party actuary. And from there, you need to build in some degree of wiggle room in case the claims go a little hot or a little differently than anticipated. There has to be some degree of profit margin in this. It's not allowed to just hand money to plaintiff's attorneys. That's not real risk transfer. You have to act like it's a real insurance company, and that's from tax court filings. But the actual operation of it will oftentimes require upfront, because a lot of lenders are going to require either AM Best or Demotech rated paper, and the captive will frequently be a reinsurer to that front, and that requires collateralization, because otherwise you get hit with Schedule F penalties. And if you've ever put together an insurance program, you probably heard a couple of key things in there, like, oh my God, you got to do an actuarial. You have to have an idea of what the expected loss cost is going to be. You might need a front. The front might need to be capitalized. All of those things are directly the exact same. So the transition into being an MGA was far simpler than you would think, just because I spent so many years over in alternative risk financing.
Nice. So I guess, though, can we get back to also your journey? So you're like KPMG, but on the legal side for tax matters. And then did you go straight into insurance defense?
I did not want to be an accountant when I grew up. And what you are looking at there, KPMG, is a function of a man who was looking at living with his parents or taking a job as an accountant. So My dream in law school was I aspired to be a sleazy billboard bus bench attorney taking slip and falls, and it just didn't work out.
People sitting on your face at a bus bench.
I wanted that. I aspired, and it just fell through for me. In 2008, the economy collapsed, and I was just, a random law student, middle of the class, nothing special. But that's relevant because in 2009, the kids who were special, kids on law review and moot court, started getting their offers revoked, and a lot of them were delayed. So for the middle of the class of 2009, they were really, really up the creek. Now, I was lucky. I was in 2010. So I somehow made an A in basic tax, and I had this desperate move. I was like, all right, well, let me just take all these rando tax classes in the business school, because I was already in the law school. They basically just let you walk in, and took like one more semester's worth of work. I took these random state and local tax, international accounting, what else was it? Like partnership tax, which was really difficult, by the way. And that master's of tax then paved the way for me to avoid being unemployed. So I got that job at KPMG. I was purportedly a state and local tax attorney. That was not the truth. They immediately threw me into doing state and local tax invoices for a whole bunch of large corporations. And it wasn't even like they really even wanted me all that much. Like they didn't even have room for me in the Atlanta office. It was like way across the country. But again, the law firm I'd been interning at in 2009 and 2010, it collapsed. And my resumes that I was sending out to all the local law firms in Atlanta, they weren't getting responded to. So that was that. So I took the job, and it was while I was doing the tax returns for some large auto company you've heard of that I stumbled into a captive insurance company. And I had this, I was like, what the heck is this thing? Bought a couple of books just to figure out what I was staring at. And there, like, the seed of captive insurance was planted while I was just doing state and local tax accounting for some Fortune 500 company. Eventually, I realized that, working a job you're neither good at nor like is completely unwise, no matter how bad the economy is. So I returned to Georgia, gloriously moved in with my parents, and continued to be unsuccessfully sending out resumes to basically everyone in the state of Georgia. I probably sent out 500 resumes. I'm not even kidding. I couldn't even get a job as a judge advocate general. I even tried to join the military, and they were like, we're full. Like everyone, like it's like the degree of recession in the legal field is really difficult to overstate. So it was actually my dad who just saw me sitting around one day typing out yet another cover letter. And he was like, just go to the courthouse. And I was like, well, you know what? I was depressed, and I was like, yeah, fine, I will. So I put on a suit, went down to the courthouse, and I just sat down. I was like, I'm just going to watch how this stuff works. And that day, like literally there, some guy who spoke broken English asked, are you an attorney? And I said, yeah. And he gave me $400. I got him out of some sort of a traffic ticket. I immediately started an LLC. The Queen firm got E&O insurance. And then from there, I just took whatever. I was just door law, just whatever came through. You ain't got no money, bankruptcy law. You drank and drove, I guess I'm doing criminal law today. And that was it for a while. I was just doing whatever I could. Did a lot of wills, and tried to do some estate planning because I knew something about accounting. And a local law firm reached out to me because they were sitting on one of my cover letters and applications, and they noticed, they were like, okay, well, you can bring in some money. We've got some overflow. And then it made me a deal. And so that's when I started working on the plaintiff side of the house for a while, transitioned to Galloway Johnson, and did traditional insurance defense work. So then between that little period of life, I actually got like real trial experience. In fact, my first trial was completely in a different field. I got the crazy guy in a divorce, and he was like, certifiable. We had a finding of acute paranoia, and I'll never forget, I fired him in, I don't even know, 2012. And then by some strange universal coincidence, he ended up with my ex-girlfriend as his attorney. So then she calls me up asking for all these questions on his case. I was like, I don't really want to talk to you. I'll give you the case file. Here you go. And then she fires him because he was too crazy. So then he comes crawling back to me, and I made it very clear. I was like, look, I'm not that kind of lawyer. I don't want to do this at all. But for an unreasonable amount of money, I'll do anything. So his mom, sends me a check that was large enough that I said, okay, fine. I guess I'm just gonna take your stupid case to trial. The Saturday before the trial, I was in his house for 8 hours counseling him on how to respond to very reasonable questions about the allegations of assassins and ninjas and owls that were spying on him, that were all there in the transcript of the deposition. And we finally had something ironed out, at least that I could live with. And we go into court, and pretty much the first question out of opposing counsel's mouth was like, so how are the ninjas going? And then he goes off for like 15 straight unbroken minutes of just talking about the conspiracies and the people who are hunting him down. And, you know, I have to like remain stoic. Internally, I was just threw my forehead onto the table, but I had to pretend like I was fine. Then I get up there and I try to, you know, rehabilitate to the extent that I can. And, you know, I looked young. This judge was not young. And he basically started asking all the questions on redirect that I should have been asking. And I got frustrated and I said, Your Honor, if I'm going to lose this case, I'm going to lose it on my terms. He laughed, shut up. And then I continued on trying to unwind at least some of this. And I walked away from that trial with the exact alimony that Georgia requires and standard parental visitation. And I looked around, I was like, well, that's a win. I think I won my first trial. And that was a real confidence booster. It was shortly thereafter. It's like weird how like life comes in like waves. Shortly thereafter is when I moved into Galloway and spent some time there. I was recruited out of Galloway to be general counsel for a captive manager in Atlanta because we'd met, you know, like I went around networking events, you know, just trying to get people to understand, like I'm on the bench, so to speak. And the owner of that firm had their chief compliance officer leave, general counsel, close enough. She's like, you know, you seem to know something about this. Why don't you join up with us? And that's where I learned insurance. So that captive manager since sold out. They were called Venture Captive Management. And it was just the most sophisticated single parent captives you've ever seen, paired with a material risk retention group, all of which were in the assisted living or skilled nursing space. And it was the first time in my life I was like, I'm kind of specializing here. Like I've been doing whatever for years now. Like, why don't I just learn this stuff? So I bought every book I could to try to figure out like, what the hell is this thing anyway? And around that same time, the IRS tried to audit the entire industry with this misbegotten thing they did called Notice 2016-66. So we had a handful of these captives that were affected by that, but they were like on the good side of the equation. Like we have like legitimate risk distribution. It's basically medical malpractice. So although we were fine, I still had to like do all of this. So like my first major assignment was A, learn like what the hell captive insurance really is, and B, beat back the IRS for like 3 or 4 of our marquee clients. So that was really cool. The problem I had was I found no authorities out there that actually described like legit captive insurance. Everything I was finding on Amazon were these dumb books by just shysters talking about how to use the 831B election, to never have to pay taxes. It was A, wrong, and B, unethical. And
this is a great time to point out that we're going to have a book coming out about C3Bs and MGAs. Doug's the primary author, though, so don't.
Yeah, so it will be worthless and probably unethical then. So, Matt, against everything that you're looking at. So keep going though. But like, I like to point out, because I think this does happen to a lot of people, is you truly did fall into insurance. Like this is like one day you're doing like crazy divorced dad trial, and then the next day you're like, now I'm specializing in captives. Like that's not there's no continuity there.
But what was consistent there was networking, and I think this is an incredibly important thing to point out. You know, Matt, going to the courthouse that day was networking, right? It wasn't a typical networking event, but that's what happened. It was actual human interaction. And then later, through all those networking events, getting recruited out, you know, you got to put yourself out there. And you have done a great job with that, of course, with your online presence, but also then obviously in person, except for you never meet me when I'm at a conference. But, you know, we'll let that slide.
That's deliberate.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's really an important piece of this, because that's where you're going to find your founders, your co-founders. You're going to find, you know, great talent. So if you're on the hiring side of this, or if you're an incomplete founder, I'll call it, one that is wanting to build a company, you have certain skills. Like myself, you know, I'm more claims and operations than I am underwriting, right? I have a pretty solid understanding of underwriting practices and such. I've been involved with a lot of this, but I'm not the person who's a 20-year underwriter, right? And it's been, gone up the chain in underwriting and experience all the different parts of it. And so, it's interesting and that's where you're going to find the people that complete you, is actually getting out there and seeing these people. So I love that part of the story, because it's incredibly important. And I find so many people are these incomplete founders, and that's what prevents them from doing the thing they dream of. But they just need to put themselves out there like you did.
Yeah, I had no vision of being an entrepreneur. I mean, everyone has maybe like this fantasy of like, well, if I develop this genius idea, of course I'd like to be the next, whoever. But for me, I mean, I really didn't want to put my name out there, mostly because I just didn't feel like I knew what I was doing, but my hand got forced. And I think that period of time in some ways scarred me, but in another way just developed the need to consistently be doing some degree of promotion, whether it be on Twitter or whether it be through like publishing a book. That has always struck me as necessary in order to minimize the risk that you have. I mean, I'm looking at a number of people I know in their late 40s and in their 50s, where large Fortune 500 company is thanking them for their service, and they're freaking out because they were operating under almost like a union mentality of like, well, I've been here for 20, 25 years. My 401k is vested. I mean, what do I have to worry about? And then they're getting some bad news. There's, an Australian company, it's bought your company, who knows what your future is. And that period of time was so topsy-turvy and so stressful that I've always just looked at cultivating yourself to some extent with, the relevant community is just part and part. Like that's almost like exercising. Like, I mean, it's just like, you can not do it. I mean, like whatever, knock yourself out. But like, clearly there's objective and measurable things that improve when you consistently network and hold yourself out and as a specialist in a certain area.
So we also point out real quick that we are going to Scout next week, all three of us from the show. Matt, love to have you if you're not going. We'd certainly make room for you there and get you a ticket. But in Columbus, that's like one of our great partners. That is, I would say, a premier networking location. There's some incredible people from the industry there, and we promote them because we believe in them. And so, that's coming up next week, probably when this is airing.
Are you saying that because they haven't paid our invoice yet on the sponsorship? Just making sure they know. And that needs to come. We're going to have a great networker join us in a few minutes here. Matthew, you unfortunately got pegged with the episode where we're trying a bunch of different gimmicks out. So we'll see how this goes here in a minute. But another great guy. I think you'll get along with him. I want to go back to, so this is like 12 years ago or so, like you're reading these books and you're like, there's just nothing out here really on captives. And I want to understand where you decided, like, I'm going to make myself the expert and I'm going to I'm going to actually dig into the tax law to create the resource, this book that actually can be used. What was that like? I mean, you kind of started when saying like there was just complete shit out there as far as like what you could find. Was that the genesis? Like, nobody's doing this, I should do this?
With the exception of, and I'm looking at the book right now, I believe it was Captives and the Management of Risk, published by IRMI. I believe the author was Catherine Westover. Everything out there was hot garbage. That's not exactly true. Hale Stewart had a good book as well. But of the dozen or so books that I got, the vast majority, 10 out of 12 were just not very good and really geared toward showing you how to rip off the IRS. And it just occurred to me, I was like, well, if this is the book I want to read and it doesn't exist, then make it. And the thought process was just so straightforward of, even if this thing sucks, the process of doing it, I've been with this company for a couple of months, I'm doing well, but clearly there's like a whole universe of stuff I don't know. Let's just do it. So I came up with a strategy. I had access to Westlaw. So what I did was I downloaded every single law review article I could find on captive insurance and things ancillary to captive insurance and just read through all of them. And that really helped, because reading through all of the cases in captive insurance is really difficult if you don't understand basic things like solvency fronting, reinsurance, the nature of insurance operations, there is a bit of a crest of ignorance that you have to overcome. But once I got through that, the law review articles really did a good job of breaking down what was actually going on in these cases, the implications from those holdings. And then I went back and read the cases subsequent to that. So it was like a 1-2 punch. And around that time, just randomly, Light Townsend reached out to me on LinkedIn because I've been doing some publishing on captive insurance and Insurance Journal and a few other places you might find me online, talking about off-the-wall captive insurance opportunities. I think at that time, I was convinced that cannabis was going to be this multi-billion-dollar market and you ought to get in front of it. So I was trying to figure out legal ways to be able to convince the Department of Insurance that you can issue a captive insurance license to a cannabis program. And Light was preparing to join as internal counsel a company that was in the hemp space down in Florida. So he was like, who the hell is this guy? Light was getting his LLM at Northwestern in tax. So we immediately started getting along. Since I've been preparing all that work and I was sitting there just having all these notes together, I was like, I'm one step shy of a book, but I don't have time to write the whole darn thing. So I just basically conscripted Light. I didn't necessarily tell him. I just spoke with the ABA, the American Bar Association. And so I got this idea for a book. Captives are a hot commodity for a variety of reasons. And I want to write it with a co-author. And they said, okay. And Light accepted. And it took us 10 months, I think. And our process was pretty cool. We stumbled into this. We divided the table of contents in half. We then gave each other the resources for each one. We both independently tried to research it. And then we would share the chapters with each other and then edit each other's work over the course of many months. And we got the thing to publication in just under a year.
That's impressive.
And so then you release this book and become the captive expert. I mean, there's probably a limited number of people that are buying it at first, but anybody that's trying to build a captive at that point is reading your book.
So I've made hundreds of dollars on this book. That's a joke, thousands, but I don't think I've made 5 figures on this book. I know it's sold hundreds of copies. But the goal was never to make money on this thing. The goal was to use it as just almost like a credentialing process to say I think I know what I'm doing in this space to some extent. How do you like me now? And it was effective. It was effective. The book was a labor, but it definitely has the intended effect. Once you say you've published something and the publisher's north of zero, it's not just some self-published thing. People do take you more seriously. It was magic. I was still the same guy as before, but now people thought my opinions actually mattered. And we were requested a couple of weeks ago by the ABA to do an update on the book. So we will release an update. It's got nothing to do with your book. If you want to go in the MGA realm, I think we're going to be in completely different spots. Mine's more going to be focusing on the actual nature of what is insurance, because that's most relevant to the tax court and federal courts. Whereas I think, based on what you described, the nature of captives and MGAs, that's worthy of an entire book. And I just don't have the bandwidth to get into that.
That was a joke about Doug is not publishing anything. No one
We are too lazy to do any amount of work. This, Matthew, what you just described, the work that your book is doing, and I'm sure it's doing a much better job. That's what we have this podcast for. Presumably, at least that's our tax write-off. The IRS might come up to us now and be like, this guy's, you can't write this off. This is worthless. It provides no value whatsoever to anybody. All right, this is a good. We're gonna try this out. I do want to get into your actual MGA and what you're doing. Actually, I didn't know that's what you were doing on the captive side as far as that space. It makes sense now. I assume that's how you met Gabriel. We have some past as well, so we can get into that. He's a good dude. But I want to bring another good dude on. And the reason I wanted to bring this guy on, Paul Gagliotti, we chat about him a lot on the show. Matthew, I thought you were from Florida. And I thought this was going to be a good connection. And then when I started doing research on you last night, I was like, fuck, this guy's from Georgia. And now I'm the Northeastern guy that thinks all Southern dudes look alike, are just from the same spot. It's just an amorphous landmass down south. So I apologize for that. I still think you guys will have a little bit to chat about. Paul's a good dude. We're going to bring him on. Paul, what's up, man? Thanks for
popping in.
This is our first call in.
Okay, Paul.
So Paul,
I feel honored.
Right? You guys have never met? Don't know?
I don't think
Not
so.
quite sure.
Probably know that we're both on the same page. Not sure.
You guys are sitting across from each other right now?
Yeah, same room.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Matthew,
sorry.
so I'll let Paul talk a little bit about what he's doing, but Paul just got married. And so it's another reason we wanted to bring him on. We probably bring him up once a show. The reason I'm wearing this silly shirt, Matthew, you're probably like, who's this dude? Why is he wearing
a pirate shirt?
This like weird pirate shirt. It was in honor of Paul because we all had to dress up as pirates at his wedding.
Well, the day before his wedding it was a 2-day party. So
I wore this.
First day. You're right. You did wear it for the wedding. That's right.
Everybody's wearing suits. I was like, no.
Yeah. Well, I wore like a Hawaiian shirt that was pirate themed too. So it's all good.
Paul, do you have any? You were listening on the discussion a little bit on captives. Any captive question that you have? Because we have the expert on captives here.
He wrote the book.
I feel like this is a good time to ask those questions, Paul.
Well, he's going to sell me a book because it sounds great. And to the point that he had made, a lot of people don't cover that topic, which I think is incredibly important in our industry because it facilitates such a vast amount of risk transfer, right? So I would just ask Matthew, pretty straightforward, like, what's the most interesting utilization of a captive you've seen or you think could be out there?
Honestly, I think the boring captives are the most interesting. The ones that just solve a quick problem for a company that has enough scale where it makes sense because it creates a real interest with the right CEO. So, I mean, I'll give you a great example. I won't say who he is, but he's the largest nursing home owner in Texas. Back when I was working on his captive, I think he merely owned 70 nursing homes, which is huge. I mean, unwieldy huge. Now he's got like 150 and like a Saudi wealth fund behind him helping to buy new nursing homes. He might literally, somebody has to be the best in the industry. He could be the best nursing home CEO that exists. And this guy, I think his background was, I don't even think he was a nurse. I think he was straight up just an administrator. He was just running nursing homes and got good. And he started a captive because at one point, rates per bed were something like $4,000 or $5,000 per bed, which it's straight up unaffordable. So he started just a crummy little single parent captive. At that time, he was still fairly small. I think he only had like 10 or 15 nursing homes, which is like probably on the slower size of a captive, and just grew it. And he grew it over a long period of time. We're talking at this point, 2, maybe 3 decades of growth. And now he's as sophisticated an insurance CEO as you're going to find. And he knows how to negotiate with CMS. I think he has a demo tech rating, but I don't think he takes the full 1 mil, 3 mil. So he's had to beat them back and get exceptions for himself. And he argues that it's solvent pursuant to all these different rules from the actuaries. And he's doing those like he's leading the negotiations, not the captive manager. It's a very sophisticated guy. And what that is, what I just described to you, is a guy, just a natural entrepreneur, started an insurance company in his backyard. It's grown organically. Now it's got plenty of solvency. And if he wanted to take on third-party risk and act like, like an E&S carrier, he very easily could. He's certainly got the footings to do that. And that's cool, I mean, it's inherently entrepreneurial.
Very cool.
Paul, we chat about this a lot when we make fun of people that are launching these, whatever insurtech of the day is, that's ridiculous, usually based out in the West Coast, maybe named after a dog. I don't know. You guys figure it out. Like, you don't have to, insurance isn't that complex. I think it's dense. And Matthew, there's like tons of edge cases, right? You've identified them and you can become an expert in them. But your example of this guy is just a smart business guy, comes in and realizes he's probably getting screwed by the insurance companies. And like, why can't I take some of this on? Especially if I'm like outside of the typical risk profile of probably paying everybody else's claims. These aren't complicated things to do. And especially if you find somebody like you to kind of help walk them through it, and then they take off and run. I mean, Paul, we talk about this all the time, how it's, this isn't rocket science. We're not catching a rocket landing with a needle. These are pretty simple things to do. People make them more complicated, I think, than they have to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and as everybody on this podcast knows, and Peter and I actually discussed this, like in launching products, right? Like, I mean, you can launch them, you can do them, you can maintain them, but like the distribution angle, right? To the point of Matthew's point about this guy with this problem, right? You know what I mean? It's like, why would I pay, what do you think, Matthew, like 4 or 7K a bed or whatever? You know what I mean? It's 70 nursing homes. That's like gotta be hundreds of thousands, millions in premium and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And you're a good operator, and to Doug's point, subsidizing the costs of others. I think that, Doug, to your point, like the law of large numbers, right, prevails, right? And if you're really good at it, right, it's effectively gambling, right? It's like, really know what something's going to cost when you sell it. And Dylan and I have discussed this, right? Just on the claim side, it's complicated, right? That part's complicated, but the actual insurance part isn't, right? It's like risk, it costs something, you charge for it.
Yeah, I think also for one of the interesting things about captives is that all the incentives are aligned as well, right? Because it's their risk. They're taking on their risk. If they can be a better risk manager, they can do things in a more efficient manner. They're going to end up having a better result. It's very directly impacts them. And people can say, yeah, if personal lines auto, if you get in 7 accidents, of course your insurance is going to be more. So you do have an impact on your rates, but nothing compared to the captive world where you truly can dictate what your losses look like by having better training, by maintaining the premises. So it's actually kind of refreshing from that standpoint as well. I don't think we always see that in insurance.
You hit the nail on the head there. One of the statistics that's hard to prove out, but anecdotally everyone believes, is that captives tend to result in material improvements in the overall performance of operations. I don't want to say loss ratio, because oftentimes that can be a misleading issue, because the premium in a captive is typically going to be lower than what you see in the market. So if premium was 100, now it's 70, the same losses or even slightly lower losses may have a bad looking loss ratio by comparison to commercial markets. But the reason that we tend to see operational improvement with a captive is that most captive managers are going to have at least one, but possibly more claims calls per year with the captive owner, describing basically where all the money's going. We're spending this amount on attorneys. Here's why. Here's the evidence in the case. Here's what's going on. And that ends up being a post-mortem. And in every one that I've attended, the CEO will typically be flanked by the director of nursing and the relevant administrators. Depending on the size of the organization, it may be like the confederated guys on top, or it could be the actual people in the nursing homes. And you just roll through it one by one. Why can't we win? What's wrong here? What happened there? Did we fire that person? Are they going to say good things to us? Why aren't they going to do that? Why didn't we text this person or the family immediately after that event? And that's the CEO himself doing that. That has incredible impact on the perception of risk management within the organization, but also it typically involves at least 1 or 2 small operational changes that just get lost when you're lost in other things. So when you have CNA, MedPro, or whoever it is as your commercial carrier, you're very happy to just kind of let things go depending on the size of the deductible. If you have a $250,000 deductible, yeah, you might be paying more attention to it. But the captives, if they run profitably, that can be some additional long-term capital gains that you can distribute to yourself, to your generals, to invest in real estate. You can do whatever you want with the underwriting profits from a captive, just like any other company. So there's real opportunity for if they can bend that loss curve down.
Well, Paul, this actually turned out pretty well. You had real content to add. It wasn't as gimmicky as I thought it would be. We're going to keep doing it. Our man on the street, because you know everything about insurance. You can ask any question. What I will try to get for you is a signed copy of version 2 of Matthew's book coming out, and because I know you want to dig in, and you guys got
order it. I gotta support it, dude. You gotta get the order.
I can buy it. I'll buy it for you.
I'll buy it. I can buy it. You can buy your own copy.
We'll get 2.
You've got 2 books. Matthew's got 2 sales already over here.
What about Dylan and Peter? You guys want in on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do a bulk
international shipping.
Yeah,
So Matt, how about we see you at a conference and do some networking like we were talking about, and we'll hand over cash that you may or may not report to Uncle Sam.
That's great. The chances for an audit, if you make under $500,000, your chances of an audit are like 0.1%. So
that is great.
You're probably fine.
I should probably put.
It's good to know for all of our businesses.
I think I'll be safe for a long time. All right, buddy. Paul, thank you for popping in.
Very much.
All the best to you and Bear Cub or whatever Dylan's calling. Yeah. All right. Bye, buddy.
Thanks, boys.
I have quite a few captive questions. I've been sitting here listening and trying to remember from a long time ago doing my insurance exams, and captives were kind of mentioned in probably one paragraph of a topic at some point. So from a UK perspective, I mean, captives been around for quite a while, and obviously we've got the offshore centres of Guernsey and Jersey and these places to put captives into and set them up. What's the situation like in the US? Has it been something that focuses in a particular territory, has got more popular over time? Have you seen any changes in kind of the attitudes to them since you've been in the space?
They've become overwhelmingly more popular over time. Captives were invented in, I believe, the 1950s by some guy named Weiss. I think it was like a mining company or something in the 1950s. And it's a standard song and dance. Can't find insurance, we'll make our own insurance. And the IRS took a very skeptical view of the whole thing. They were like, well, you're just putting money from one company into another. It's just one wallet, another wallet, one bank account versus another. This is inherently flawed. But the problem is the IRS also is required by the Supreme Court to respect all the corporate formalities. So if I create an LLC, that is a real company. And even if I'm the sole owner of that LLC, it still operates as a liability shield. So the IRS tried to attack these things for a long time in something called the economic family doctrine, which effectively says, come on, you can't possibly own your own insurance company. And they attacked for years, and it got absurd. They actually went after, do you remember the old company Sears, like the old retailer Sears? Yeah. So there's an opinion out of the 6th or the 7th Circuit, wherever Chicago is. And the Court of Appeals said that the IRS is arguing that Allstate is not real insurance because it's captive to Sears. So that didn't go well for the IRS. And just the absurdities of saying that you cannot procure insurance from your own insurance company just got tossed out of court. I believe that was in 1991. So between 1950 something and the 70s, there was a bunch of kerfuffle during the Carter administration. You had some improvements in captives in the 80s with the Zenith and this thing called the Humana case, which I won't get into right now, but I know the guy who won the case. Then the Sears case really kind of put the final nail in the coffin for the IRS. Like, you just have to live with this. You may not like it, you may not understand it, but that's irrelevant. Like, you have to live with this thing. And so then the IRS pivoted and they said, well, okay, maybe it's real, but all of these specific ones over here are fake for various reasons. And the IRS had some wins and losses along the way. And despite the IRS like really trying to push back on the whole industry, not just the 831B small side of it. I mean, remember, they were going after Allstate as being allegedly not insurance. And I am talking about that Allstate. I want to be very clear here. We're talking about that Allstate, and the IRS was just way off base. And despite the IRS's ire, the captive industry went from one schmuck and some mining company in the 50s. Now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry in the US alone, not to mention what's going on in Guernsey, UK, and the rest of the world. I mean, it's a legitimate part of the insurance economy. In fact, one of the issues I find with the IRS's attacks on captives is, remember, the IRS is charged with identifying tax fraud. They're charged with that obligation by Congress. So they got to do that. They are not charged with identifying what is insurance. And that's part of the problem I have with what the IRS does, is that they choose to define insurance pursuant to whatever scheme they think they can find from the tax courts. But the problem is that insurance is not defined in the Internal Revenue Code. So it's this incoherent process to basically say, I know insurance when I can see it. The problem for the IRS is that the major question doctrine is now in play. Insurance is clearly a major question. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's cross borders, and captives are a multi-billion portion of that multi-billion-dollar industry. So on what authority does the IRS possess the ability to define what constitutes insurance versus not? And this is not just an academic issue. Okay, what if you're selling a warranty? In North Carolina, it might be a warranty. In New York, it might not be a warranty. So the nature of insurance is not just limited to trying to go after a bunch of tax frauds or alleged tax frauds in the 831B industry. This is part and parcel of just basic compliance. Do we have to, bend the knee and offer fealty to the Department of Insurance? Because if it's a warranty, not so much. If it's insurance, then absolutely so. So this is always going to be an issue. But where I get a little upset about the nature of insurance being governed arbitrarily and capriciously by the IRS is that we have this other issue over here with the McCarran-Ferguson Act. The business of insurance is state law. It has been since 1944 or 45. I think in 1944, the Supreme Court under that ridiculous interstate commerce clause where like everything is basically interstate commerce. They said insurance is now subject to interstate commerce and can be regulated at the federal level. And the Department of Insurance freaked out. I mean, it was an actual freak out, meltdown, all 50 states. Because you got to remember, like, what's the number 2 source of revenue from most states? Department of Insurance. Yep. After the Department of Revenue, it's the Department of Insurance. So now you got the federal government coming in there saying how it's going to be, and it's not a great scheme. So Congress passed the McCarran-Ferguson Act in 1945 to reverse the impact of that Southeastern Underwriters case and reset the understanding of the Interstate Commerce Clause as it relates to insurance to as it was prior to 1944. That's a lot of words because it's not quite as simple as saying the business of insurance is state law. You have to inflict upon insurance an understanding of insurance or due process that existed from like the 1800s until 1944. And that's lost on a lot of people, but that's extremely important. The reason that I like this is because insurance is actually well regulated. I mean, raise your hand if you remember a bank or two going down in 2008. Okay? Yeah. How many insurance companies have? I mean, I know AIG had their problems.
I was going to say AIG, yeah.
I know AIG had their problems, and that's always that's where everyone goes. And then I know in Florida you had, like, I think Tower Hill went out, or maybe it was FedNat, they went out a couple of years ago. These things do happen, but the rate at which you see insurance insolvencies is virtually nil by comparison to the incredible rate of banking insolvencies and the impact of them. Who runs insurance?
Maybe the counter
argument. Think about it for a second. No. Who runs insurance? Who's the insurance company that runs it all?
That runs it all?
Yeah. Who's really in charge?
Ooh, I'm looking forward to this conspiracy theory. Go.
Yeah, come on. Who's the Illuminati of insurance? Come on.
Who made some notes from earlier in the call? Something to do with owls and ninjas, right?
No, is it our buddy Evan? Our buddy Evan?
It's a trick question. There isn't one.
No one runs it. Well, they all reinsure each other, retrocession.
Yeah, JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs basically run banking. And to a lesser extent, maybe Nations Bank or Bank of America, whatever the columns is. There's a handful. There's a little cabal there. When you look at insurance, you go across all 50 states and you look at the number 1 insurance carrier. I forget if it's Allstate or Nationwide, but it's their aggregate gross written premium is only like 15 or 20% of the entire industry. Okay, there is no monopoly in insurance, and that's because of the McCarran-Ferguson Act. There is no oligarchy behind the scenes controlling everything because you have 50 different states. And you can't even find the same insurance in all 50 states because of the admitted carrier licensure and like ENS stuff, and then like not to mention captives. Like, it's just a much more diverse place. McCarran-Ferguson was quietly one of the healthiest things that ever occurred to the American economy. You don't have to worry about bank runs equivalents in insurance for the most part.
Which is also why captives, the separation between company, insurance company and the risk, why that makes so much sense, right? Because the insurance company component has to still be reserved appropriately. It still needs to follow insurance regulations. So if you're funding that and, you have a risk, your mining company, to be able to go fund that, you have separated those things. You are now following insurance regulations once you've moved that capital over to that entity, and why there's a genuine separation of risk and carrier.
I couldn't agree with you more. And if anyone from the IRS ever listens to this, I wish you guys would have taken my comments more seriously in the notice and comment period. I think that the payment of claims should be virtually dispositive of the entire issue. If there is an insurance company and some portion of that premium is then being returned to the insured pursuant to the triggering of the insurance policy, I mean, I'm not saying that's the end of the inquiry, but that needs to be like they have these things called like the badges of fraud when like fraud actually exists. This is like the badges of insurance. Like, once claims are being paid, you may have errors in the policy. Maybe it wasn't signed. Maybe you mixed up claims made in occurrence-based language. Maybe there's some other obscure thing. Maybe the actuarial was junk. Okay, fine. But they are paying premium and they are paying claims. And the nature of a claim is why you purchase insurance. That's the thing you're buying. You're buying claims coverage. And when that thing occurs, that means the substance of the transaction is in effect. So if you want to turn around and argue that, like, I mean, I'm not sure they have sufficient risk distribution. You only had 199 physicians as opposed to some other arbitrary number. And that was actually the Swift Court Fifth Circuit opinion fairly recently that came out, where we're sitting here counting angels on the head of a pin by comparison to looking at the fundamental operation. I really don't like that opinion. It was a medical malpractice captive insurance company, and they were arguing that they had sufficient risk distribution. Their actuary agreed. They had a lot of math behind that. And the IRS said, I don't know. I don't think you do.
Matt, you're saying some pretty inflammatory things here. So I thought it would be best if I got your lawyer on this call.
Oh, no.
So
you've been here the whole time.
More guests than ever.
Yeah, he's been taking notes. I've been watching him trying to drive. He's asking for edits. This is actually good because I feel, Matthew, we need to have you on again, I think, to actually talk about your MGA, because this has been a great discussion.
You are a great guest.
But now we can have a segue into what you guys are working on now. But Matt, maybe quickly, we were talking about you at the beginning of the show, and Matthew was talking about his early discussions with you on some of your comedic content. Nothing was mentioned as far as the content itself, so you're good to go.
Please go check out X and LinkedIn to go see incredible views, a hilarious commentary by Matt Margolis, since we have two Matts now.
I expected to just come in here and catch Matt by surprise. I didn't expect a shout out. That's really endearing, guys. I appreciate it. You should follow Matt also on Twitter, on X, whatever it's called. Matt has a bit where he just claims all the time that captive insurance can fix everything.
I love it. Yes.
And I follow Matt around
just to be
Twitter.
clear, probably the first thing that I've sent Doug from Queen, just going to use last names here now, it was actually that bit exactly. And it was something wonderfully ridiculous. And then every now and then I would throw in I would tag Matt and be like, does captive insurance fix this? And just toss it in there every now and then. So that's actually how I think I first may have gotten on Queen's radar, is by just pushing ridiculous trash like that back to him.
You had a bit
and it worked. Yeah.
That's it. It's the funniest thing. It'll be a tweet of someone getting divorced, and it's like, captive insurance can fix this. Every time I laugh. Every single time.
Well, so I love, by the way, Doug.
So, anyways, the content is great. Yeah.
Doug, I love that you gave me a surprise guest today. Yeah. And then I bring a surprise guest for our surprise guest on. Yeah,
we're gonna run out of gimmicks soon, though, Dylan. And we're just we're
breaking the fourth and fifth walls now. It's crazy. It's crazy.
So Matthew gave us a bit of a context on bringing you in. I would like whichever one of you would like to maybe talk for a few minutes on what you guys are working on. Because I'm sure if Gabriel ever watches this, he's like, are you guys actually going to talk about the MGA that you're working at? Maybe
exactly.
So Matthew, I'd love to hear that, just quickly, how you guys got connected. I assume it's because you were becoming an expert in a specific type of captive risk, or working with certain captives that we're working with he's ended up building. What was that like, you two getting together, and kind of what are you guys working on now?
So Matt and I were introduced by Light, and we were friends for a while, and I admired the way that he was developing his personal brand with social media, and was doing so in spite of quite a bit of pushback from a lot of small-minded people. When my business partner, Gabe, and I started our current venture, a Tricura Insurance Group, we quickly got to a point where I was just unable to stay on top of all of the very important legal stuff that I don't pretend to be an expert in. And Matt Margolis, shortly before that, maybe a year or two before, had ventured out on his own and was doing quite a bit of transactional work. So I put Gabe and Matt together quite a bit before that. They've been working really well together, just kind of sharing their thoughts about insurance and entrepreneurship in general. And we brought Matt on as outside general counsel, and it's been working really well.
I appreciate that. We've got some good war stories too from back in the day when Matt was carrier side. Do you remember those? Yeah, those were great. I used to bug. He ran the vendor panel, so I was the annoying outside counsel who'd be like, "Hey man, what's going on? What are you doing today? What's going on? Hey, what's going on?" I'm trying to send him gifts. I don't know where he lives. I'm trying to figure it out.
Just try to get some billable hours.
Yeah, that's actually very nice.
We have, if you round up, counting me, we have 3 attorneys on the show, outnumbering the 2 insurance guys here.
I want to be clear. I don't consider you an actual attorney.
I know, I'm half in it. I feel like I said round up. We can go from 2.5 to 3. I passed the bar. I practiced for a few years. and then gave it up.
Really surprising.
Well, I was asked to give it up, but yeah, Okay, so Tricura now. So you and Gabe started that a few years ago. It's dealing with what Matthew, what you were doing in the captive space, like nursing homes, care facilities.
Yeah, I mean, it was just such an organic extension. Gabe and I, we were working for another company. He wasn't on the insurance end of things, but we would just talk all the time about the nature of insurance. Like, if you were to start an insurance company, like how much money would it take? Well, if I were in a captive land, I would tell you this, that, and the other. And Gabe's a quiet one. He went to a college I'd never heard of, and he got recruited into a private equity group shortly. I think he was doing something with an investment bank, like a smaller investment bank. But we kind of got lucky with him. He probably should have been at Goldman Sachs, but I don't think his family had the money to put him into like Harvard or what it would take to actually get those kind of opportunities. So he ended up you just have this wildly talented guy who has just kind of been learning how to throw curveballs for years in a very entrepreneurial, very predatory setting. I mean, we're talking about, he has been in New York City with the biggest lenders, the biggest operators, the biggest vendors, and he's been leading those discussions for a long time. So he's pretty skilled despite being several years younger than me and Matt. And he just became worthy of becoming a CEO. I'm the number 2 guy at the firm, and I'm telling you, we have a solid one. Somebody has to be the next Steve Jobs for insurance. I mean, I'm putting money on Gabe.
Nice. Wow. Well, I met him a number of years ago when I was building an MGA in the commercial auto space. And so we both had, I don't remember how he was involved. I'd owned a fleet of vehicles in the city for Uber vehicles. I think he was maybe his private equity firm, or maybe he was kind of moonlighting with somebody helping out with that. But we were both trying to solve the insurance problem. It was just complete shit. Speaking of captives, I would have discussions with the DFS around American Transit, and now I think they're $2 billion underwater. And now that's the biggest insurer for black cars and taxis in the city. And we would talk about trying to bring a captive in. They're we got burned by captives in the 80s. Yeah, this is a completely different thing. You're begging me to bring a carrier into the space. And yeah, we want a carrier. We want an A-rated carrier to come in. No A-rated carrier is going to come in and do this. They're not going to touch this thing. This is how we can actually get this done. There's plenty of private equity willing to come in and take this risk, but this is how it needs to be structured. And they just can get out of their own way, and they're still dealing with the fallout of it. My guess is, Gabe probably gave up on that, just like we did at a certain point, at least as far as New York's concerned. And
they don't actually want cars in the 5 boroughs. Is the reality.
That could be it as well. So. I actually think there's conspiracy theory wise, just a lot of mob money, in American Transit. If you actually go look at the American Transit leadership page, again, not to be stereotypical, but it looks like they're all working for the. It's
because they have brass knuckles on, and
what are the names on there? It's Fat Tony.
I'm on a train to New York this afternoon. I feel like maybe I won't make it out of the city. We'll find out. This is my last episode.
It was nice to meet you on the podcast. At least
this is the last time. First and last.
Hey, guys, we are way over. I could keep going forever. Unfortunately, I do have to do some work today. I'm sure you guys do as well. Matt, Matthew, we'd love to have you on again. Maybe we'll get Gabe on as well. We could have a big party. Matt, where are you based?
Margolis.
Where are you based?
I'm in West Palm. Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, Florida.
Okay, we need to head down south and do a live podcast then, maybe get a round of golf in. So we'll get Gabe to come down.
We'll get on the boat again. Yeah, we'll
get on the boat. There we go. I like that idea. But this has been great. Matthew, hopefully you didn't feel like it was a complete waste of time. You've actually given us, out of all of the podcasts that we've done, I feel like there's one other that I'm thinking of. We had an attorney on, another attorney, Greg Hofnagel, great dude, who actually dropped a bunch of insurance knowledge. And so when that actually happens on these podcasts, we feel like we've done our job. So you've given us a lot to chew through. Is it okay if we put your LinkedIn and maybe even your X up in the show notes? People can reach out to you and chat captives and learn more about what you're working on.
Absolutely.
Cool.
I know Margolis is up for it, so
Margolis will throw yours on there as well.
Dylan, we didn't get a 7 followers can then add to his 1 million followers.
Yeah, it's really just my mom. My mom is going to start following.
But you got me now. I'm excited to watch this.
Awesome.
Dylan, we didn't get a chance to talk claims at all.
I
feel
wanted
there's probably some good claims.
I actually
discussion.
wanted to talk about TPAs as they relate to captives, but we will do that on the next show.
We're going to do another
Can I be on that one?
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll
We just started a
rundown.
claims company too, so we should talk about Tricura and how big it is.
All right. Okay.
And
So we gotta do this one.
Centaur is our claims company.
Centaur.
Like, we're growing.
Let's do this live. Let's do a live one with these.
Wait,
with these guys.
wait, seriously, do part 2. We'll talk about Centaur. Yeah.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Let's do it. We got a plan. All right, guys, this has been great. I feel like all of our gimmicks kind of worked out. We kept the one listener. Thanks, Mom, for a little bit longer. But guys, this has been great. Chat with you later.
Thank you.
Good dudes. Dylan, what do you think?
Well done.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that.
Done. And
I thought you'd like that.
I'm pretty proud that I got another guest on top of that while we were live during the show.
Stacking guests. We're trying to get people.
Stacking mats.
We know too many people, humble brag, and we just can't fit them on the shows that we have. We don't have enough shows.
So now we add three people we know per show.
Yeah. Exactly.
Though I can't say I really know Queen as much. Margolis, I've been talking to him for years now.
Now you do.
But Queen and I have chatted a few times just digitally. So,
well, listen, you know Margolis well enough to get him last minute on a show, to drop everything he's doing to hop
That was
on.
impressive. That was impressive.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I have this
show up.
Doug, what did you do when you saw another person pop up in the back? Because Peter and I, just for everybody else, we can't actually see the.
We have no idea
room
what's
or
going
what
on.
we're calling it.
Yeah.
So
I don't like to share control.
Yeah.
I knew who it was.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. So I figured you had done that. It was either you or Queen that had brought it.
Or someone accidentally stumbling across our street.
That we just named in the show a few minutes before.
Yeah. Too good. Oh, this is fun, guys. A lot of fun.
Actually,
a lot of
great.
I'm going to test. We're going to do a test, I think, for all you guys on captives after this, right? There's a lot of information.
I got to read the book first.
I'm not taking any tests until I read the book.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have Claude read it for me, but actually, we should have Claude write our
reading are over. Yeah.
Well, first, Dylan, I need to have Claude build our website. I know you're on my ass about that. You really want to.
We need a website for Scout. So
this is good. AI doesn't solve everything. There's still human bottlenecks if you're dealing with me.
Honestly, based on the vibe coding I was doing last night, I'm almost completely useless except because I don't know what it's doing. It'll ask a question. I'll be like, I don't know what that even means. Sure.
I want a montage of you with your terminal open, just like typing, having the text kind of flow through, and put some music behind it.
Hacker music, is that a thing?
Yeah, hacker music.
Yeah.
And then we'll post that on Slate's website. Sorry, we can cut that.
Whoa, what? Who? Where? I don't know.
Who?
But anyway, it's on my link.
Loro?
Okay.
Loro?
Yeah.
Loro's CTO?
Yeah.
Wait, no, I fired my CTO. Peter didn't. Dylan, welcome to the team.
Not yet.
Okay.
CTO.
Oh.
Ooh. This is
I'm no CTO.
Spicy.
I'm no CTO.
Peter, who's all coming from Loro next week?
We have Lisa, our person in the US. We have Diego, co-founder of Loro. So yeah, there'll be 3 of us in total.
Okay.
Awesome.
Very cool. And you, right? You'll be there.
I'll be there. 3 in total.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 3, Doug. He mentioned.
Well,
2
he didn't
people.
give his name. It could have been somebody else at Loro.
Yeah. Okay. That's right.
You guys, talking about you guys and your vibe coding that you love to do, I think it'd be really interesting to do a session where we share from the layman's perspective some tips that you guys can give from what you've done to people in the MGA
I want to be
space.
clear. I am a layman.
Doug's good. Doug's good at it.
I'm not good. I just like Dylan said. I click accept. I'm half paying attention and doing something else.
No, I think that'd be interesting for people to see. I compare it a bit to, you guys must have had this craze. You still do, right? In the US, the whole DIY craze, like the do-it-yourself building stuff and projects around the house. I feel.
Do you not do that in Europe?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's trendy here too. But don't you think it's a little bit like that, where people are like vibe coding, or they're doing some domestic job and they're putting a shed together and it's like missing half the roof, and it's like,
I think that's a detractment from. Actually, there was some guy who's, I don't want to get in trouble, who's talking about enterprise.
Someone who built that house.
We need a real lawyer to come here and censor you right now.
Yeah. Well, no, because he's a nice guy, but it's just like, he's advocating for his company, as he should. But I'm not going to begrudge him that. But he's like kind of like saying everything can be vibe coded now, and the only thing left is finance rails. I'm like, come on, man. Like,
I know you're talking
not
about.
True. Like, and I would point to, Could I renovate our bathroom? Probably. Yeah, sure. But will there be shit leaking all over the floor? 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so compare that to an enterprise.
Tell him to vibe code his bank account.
Yeah. Well, I want him to vibe code my bathroom since I screwed it up and I need somebody to clean up. So maybe you can do that. I'm
sorry, for enterprise grade software. So the stuff that I'm playing with is just literally a toy. It's just me learning, right? And so I'm doing a task of something that I wanted to do, but would I have any faith this has any measure of security to it, that it's actually going to protect the data in it? The information that's in it really isn't needing protection. Like I'm not, there's no PII, there's no HIPAA, there's no compliance, components to it. There's nothing that will stop like if someone hacked this, if I made it go live, there's nothing for them to take. They just could break it essentially, and that's it. So vibe coding is fine, right? And maybe if you were a little bit more skilled, you'd be able to do something better with it to protect it. But I sure as hell don't want, even though Doug's light years ahead of me in his ability to vibe code, I don't want him, him specifically doing the coding that's going to protect all my information. I'd rather
Sven won't let me anywhere near our code.
And that's a great call. Okay.
Every once in a while I need something and I'll build it like with our public API. And he's like, this is not what this is for. I'll give it to a customer just because, I gotta make them happy. Got a lot of legal knowledge dropped on this. McCarran-Ferguson, we actually have the front docket page of McCarran-Ferguson hanging up in our office because that makes tourists possible. 50 states. Yeah. So thank you, McCarran-Ferguson. Guys, he dropped in the reference towards like I'll know insurance when I see it is from a great case you learned in law school about pornography and what pornography is, the definition of it. So insurance is just like pornography, I think is what I took away from that. We're gonna have a great second, third, and maybe fifth episode with him. Fourth one will be hidden. We won't be able to release that one because it's gonna get crazy.
Speaking of the similarities of porn and insurance, Peter, can I see your right arm real quick?
Oh,
oh man!
I wondered where you were going with that.
The good thing is nobody's watching. Nobody's watching now, so they can,
that's good.
Make whatever connection you want. You want with that. Jesus. Wow.
Oh God,
Dylan.
Well, I went for it. There you go. Sorry. Too bad.
All right, guys.
You never be hired again.
I gotta do a call with somebody. This has been fun though, guys. It's good to see you. We got live episode next week. Live episode.
See you guys who's getting there on Monday? You guys getting there on Monday?
No.
I'll be there.
I'll be there Tuesday
Monday
morning.
night.
All right.
Tuesday morning. Women's breakfast. If you guys want to come Wednesday morning and help me check in women to the women's breakfast.
Wednesday morning, is that?
Wednesday morning.
You guys there Tuesday?
I'm happy to help. Whatever you need.
I'm there Tuesday. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Just send me the details. All right.
Yeah. All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.